Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk about pregnant women fighting.
That's not too terribly far off, Johnny. Pregnant women fighting, or are the little man fighting for his rights to work for fair wages,
the little
fair
man
hours.
being the babies, then.
Yeah, without yes, in some cases, yes, you're right. without awful people like the Pinkertons, as I am portraying, coming in to put their boots on the throats of those poor little working class. We are in it. This is a suggestion from us, from one of our viewers, to go into the Union Wars.
Okay, so not about pregnant women.
Not about pregnant women specifically, no. But their rights.
They might be involved.
They'll be involved at one of our later episodes. Not quite in this one. But this is Union Labor Wars, which is a broad topic in the United States that spans. It's not like there was one Union Labor War or one labor war and it solved everything. No, this has pretty much been going on since the 1800s, which is where we're going to focus on today. Today is just the 19th century.
So this is the start of the labor union wars, when people began to
realize
value human life and quality of life and things like that, or no, they didn't.
This is when the workers realize that maybe their working conditions aren't really appropriate, and they should probably be fighting for something a little just a scotch better.
They started seeing the boss's new carriages rolling by, and they're like, "Hold up! If he can afford that, and I'm making this, and our conditions are some dude losing a hand every other day, like maybe we should fix this."
So unlike today, where we have Labor Day celebrations, where we celebrate Labor Day and we all get it off, unless you're one of those essential employees that works in retail or the food industry, or
kind of the people who the holiday was designed for, right?
Originally, yeah, they're still having to work.
The core workers of our society, holding everything together. You get a day to celebrate you, but be sure to be at work because there's sales.
Yeah, there's sales. There are definitely sales on Labor Day. And that whole 8-hour workday, which again, we fought so hard to win, and then I don't think I've worked an 8-hour workday in years.
Well, I mean, you're the exception, because you do get hourly, right?
I do get hourly pay. So yeah,
the salary pay was kind of invented to circumvent that a bit. No. You're paid for a job. Some weeks you're gonna have to work 80 hours a week.
Yeah,
that's just true. What the job is. Other weeks you will have to work 42 hours a week, and those will be your light weeks, so you're fine.
So what a brave way to celebrate this, and let's talking about how we got here, Johnny. How did we get here? How do we get to the free not free, but the equal rights of workers and all the proper compensation for our time, and
10-year-olds no longer working in factories.
10-year-olds no longer working in factories.
Yeah,
at least that stayed.
Yeah, who ruined this for us? Like what?
So it's another great bright spot in American history, and we will take the path, talk about this during a mini-series. This is just we're going to start with the 19th century, and we'll talk about later stuff down into the later episodes. So at least according to Taft and Ross's study of American labor violence, its causes, characters, and outcomes, America has the most violent labor disputes and unrest out of any other industrialized nation in the entire world. Way to go,
hold on.
USA.
This is violent. I guess it makes sense that there's wars, but why? I mean, this is violence came into this. These are employees at businesses, and it turned to violence.
Violence, yeah.
To squash any sort of uprising or fighting for, or attempt to anyway.
Yeah, by both parties. You got workers who are like, we're not going to do this anymore, and they take their said pistol, which you're able to have in Z's United States,
of course, and
they turn it upon their boss and says, you know what? No, I'm just not going to do it. Pow!
Oh,
and then of course
that's murder.
Well, yes, but then of course you also do have the companies that hire Pinkertons who come in and say, get back to work. No, I don't want to. Pow! There's a lot of this going on.
What were the 1800s? Good God! I imagine I'm going to be saying that for every portion of this.
Yes, you definitely are.
All right, so it was a lot of people saying, I'm not going to work, and then trying to either force one way or the other. Got it.
Yes,
That's where the
yes,
wars
yes,
are.
yes.
Okay.
So our story is going to begin where most stories in current modern-day United States begins, and that's with the Civil War, Johnny!
Hey!
Civil War! Most of all of our history stems right out of that conflict.
Nothing in the world happened before the Civil War except for the American independence, of course. We did that. And then there was just peace and happiness, and then Civil War, and that started American history.
But as the Civil War raged on, we learned very quickly in the North that we needed to make a lot of things. The South learned that too, but the South didn't have the people to do it, and the North did.
Factories,
or the
right?
factories.
That was
so
a
the North,
big thing.
yeah. So the North had all these factories, and we have our Industrial Revolution. The United States comes into the whole like manufacturing, mass manufacturing, interchangeable parts, all that stuff really comes to height during the Civil War because we need equipment for this 2 million man army.
Yeah, I mean that's a common theme I think for a lot of history is war kind of spurns a whole lot of development really quickly because of everything that you need to carry out a successful war. Right?
Carry out a war. Yeah.
Like World War II
very
with
much
Rosie
so.
the Riveter and everything else, and that like completely changed the work dynamics of the United States because now women were in the workforce because all the men were dying overseas, so they had to be.
And that's not the only time women are in the workforce because while all the boys are out fighting, you gotta have somebody to build. You gotta have somebody to build factories in the Civil War. So
children.
So basically, what you have to start before the Civil War, children. We do. Yeah. So basically, before the Civil War, you've got a lot of people like there are tailors that make uniforms. There are seamstresses that darn the cloth. There are specialty tasks. You've got blacksmiths for the horseshoes, all that fun stuff. You've got specific gunsmiths for specific artisan guns. And all these skilled labor jobs that people spend a whole lifetime learning to do that trade.
Yeah, this is back in the day of apprenticeships and everything.
Yes,
you start working when you're 10, 12, 14, whatever. You start following a expert, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When you have a war with 2 million man armies,
you don't need
you can't do
artisan
that.
stuff.
You can't do that. You need just shit quickly. Just produce it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
So machines come into play. We've got steam powered machines. We've got water powered machines. We've got all kinds of industrial built around machines to instead of one person sewing this shirt was made on a machine. It's like just run it through. You still need people to operate those machines.
Sure, but they can do it much more.
Any
quickly.
person, including an 8-year-old child, can do that. Just press that button.
Yeah,
Keep
pull that out.
Hey.
Oh, and watch out for your hand because that hydraulic press coming down, cut it clean off. And then you won't be able to work and earn money anymore. So what are you going to do? So you're out of luck.
Yeah, well, there you go. So these very, very quickly, these skilled jobs get replaced just by machines, which of course is unskilled labor to operate said machines.
Yeah.
These jobs that were being replaced used to have guilds. There used to be a blacksmith guild that kind of set the price. All right. You had your apprenticeship through your local blacksmith. You became a blacksmith yourself. This is the type of material that you're able to make. This is the cost that it's going to cost the average person. And you went anywhere in the United States, and for the most part, there was an semblance of like, all right, I know if I'm going to get a horseshoe, it's going to cost probably about X dollars no matter where I go. Well,
right.
X cents, not X dollars.
Yeah, at that point. But in any case, there was some sort of regulation based around the trade. Everyone's like, hey, guys, let's not do this work for a penny. Let's do it for 10 cents or whatever.
10 cents,
and then that way you're not undercutting the entire industry and hosing everybody.
But when the skilled labor went away, these guilds kind of went away because the industry went, oh, well, you don't want to do this work? Well, Timmy, who's 8, he'll do it.
He's happy to do it.
He's happy. He gets. I'll give him a nickel a day.
Oh.
He's glorious.
Oh, look at Timmy over there getting 5 times minimum wage.
And of course, in the Civil War, a lot of these jobs were in armories, Johnny. And in fact, there were 3 armories built during the Civil War in the North to help accommodate the need for building guns and building munitions.
That's what an armory is. It's just a factory a
factory or stockpile of arms and munitions.
Yes, because stockpile is kind of what I always imagine it as. But they would also create and then
arms and or munitions. So one of these factories,
bullets too and everything else.
Yeah. Side note, just for fun, if you live in Indiana, one of these factories is the Indianapolis Arsenal, which is now Arsenal Tech High School. But it started its life, Johnny, as an arsenal for the United States government making munitions. They made cannon rounds and bombs
and now
and rifle rounds. And now we have kids there.
It's so ripe with history, and now we are poorly teaching history to the very kids inside that building. That's amazing.
Well, especially
what a
that's,
wonderful circle of life for this.
Yeah, that's considering that's one of the schools that you typically send the badder kids to. But hey, whatever, whatever. Hey,
let's not rank schools, Tommy. We're not on a school board.
Yeah, whatever.
Kind of crap.
So you've got these kids and these women that are now working in these arsenals and making very, very because surprise, surprise, working with black powder isn't the safest thing in the world.
No, you don't say. What about when you're working with black powder in confined areas with lots of machinery around?
Yeah, see, that's not very safe.
That doesn't help.
So surprise, surprise, these working conditions are not great, and at the Allegheny Arsenal, it's going to lead to an explosion, Johnny, or should I say a series of explosions that's going to kill 78 workers, most of which are women, including a 15-year-old munitions assembler named Catherine Burkhart and a 17-year-old named Margaret Turney. So these are two young women, prime age for marriage, by the way. They're kind of old maids because they should have been married already. But, there's a war going on.
Now, are those two significant just because they are young women? Okay. Okay.
I just preference that just for age.
Yeah, because that's the type of forces. But during the Civil War, at least in the South, and I imagine the North is kind of the same. Everybody felt an obligation to do something, right? And so I imagine that's part of the reason why a lot of these people were willing to go and do. Not to get sidetracked or anything, but I mean, if you're in the North and you're manufacturing, and like your husband was working in the coal mines, or he was working in the whatever industry there was up there at the time, and he goes off to war, well, yes, he's getting paid his $13 a month, $13 a lot of money, but that's not necessarily making its way not
home.
Enough.
It's not necessarily enough because that's getting paid directly to the soldiers.
I guess they're not direct depositing this, are they?
Yeah, there's no direct deposit. So the wife at home who likely has kids has to do something to bring in some money.
Sure.
And so working at a factory is there. Plus, of course, if you're also what's called the invalid corps, where you're not able to go out and fight, you'd be working in these jobs as well.
Now, were women allowed to take over their husband's job position? Were they able to just
women were allowed in the workforce?
I leave this job. Are they allowed to come? I'm going to go fight a war. My wife's going to come in and work so she can keep making the money.
I don't know if it was like a 1-for-1 exchange.
I imagine
women were now being
women
were now being allowed in the workforce and in roles that
and before that they weren't allowed to. It was this is a man's role and whatever else, and not like 1950s man's role just socially. It's like no, you do not do that.
Yeah, you do not
as
do
a
that.
woman ever.
So this particular, the Allegheny Arsenal, would blow up, killing, like I said, killing 78 workers. 54 of their bodies were actually unidentifiable at the time of the these are badly mangled bodies. They're like, well, we'll just huck them in a mass grave. It's okay.
I mean, surely they clocked in somewhere. Somewhere.
Well, the working conditions were so bad that the head of the arsenal, Colonel Symington, he's going to be brought up on charges of neglect. The charges basically are stemming from there was an ass ton of gunpowder just lying around everywhere, and
just
and
loose powder,
gunpowder, just loose.
So basically, not cleaning up after doing stuff.
Yes,
spilt powder is just loose
everywhere.
Okay.
And the road in front of the arsenal was a cobblestone road, and the theory is that a horse with metal horseshoes, clippity cloppity on the cobblestone, flint and steel, create some sparks. This loose gunpowder everywhere. Spark hits gunpowder, and then boom. And once you have one boom at an arsenal where you're making munitions, there's going to be a few more booms followed up.
Y'all ever see one of them fireworks explosions that go wrong? It's like that. Only things that weren't made to explode in that manner. So now, probably less pretty and more horrific.
During his court-martial trial, the problem is a lot of the witnesses of this account
are dead.
But a lot of the reports vary. So he's wound up found not guilty of negligence. Although there is a general consensus that those black powder kegs leaked. So probably should fix that before it becomes.
So the kegs that they're packing were leaking too. So as they're moving it around, they're leaking. Not only just careless employees spilling somewhere, but just faulty equipment.
Now, to be fair, in general, even today, I think it was a couple of years ago, 2018, one of the big black powder, because the black powder still being made because there are people like me who like to shoot black powder.
All right, so this is your fault. Whatever happened, whatever story you're getting ready to say, it happened because of you and people like you. What did you cause, Tommy?
Well, the GoX factory that makes modern black powder did it kind of went boom boom too, because making black powder is super fucking dangerous, even in modern OSHA laws.
And the reason we do it is for reenactors and people who just like shooting black powder guns.
I just like shooting black powder guns, Johnny. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right.
So an entire factory of people.
No, but I don't know if anybody.
170,000 people in this factory died because of
he's making that shit up. That's not.
All right.
Anyways, this is not going to be the only Arsenal explosion, because the Washington Arsenal in Washington, D.C. is also going to go up on June 17th, 1864, killing 21 women, mostly young Irish immigrants. That was the sole income of the house. Now, this is important.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't an outrage of the working conditions at this arsenal. There wasn't an outrage that the 21 young women died. The outrage starts to come from the fact that the 21 young women died and they were the sole income of the house.
And now
and they weren't being properly compensated. But properly compensated, the arsenal compensated by burying them and paying the family due wages. So, you worked 40 hours this week. Here's your 40 hours.
No, well, actually, it was probably you worked 32 to 34 hours because the explosion happened, and we're gonna go ahead and clock you out of that time. Sorry, you don't get the full day's work, but we didn't get the full day's work. And actually, we're kind of behind now because we lost so many supplies, which is another side effect of black powder factory explosions. Is now the North didn't have whatever munitions they were making.
Yeah, that's munitions gone.
That's a costly event.
Now, this explosion, Johnny, was 100% the fault of the superintendent and pyrotechnist Thomas Brown, who the pyrotechnist. He's the guy who not only he's a superintendent, but he's like the head chief guy.
Not just a pyro.
This goes boom boom. I know how this goes boom boom.
And why,
I make this go boom boom.
Okay, and how big it's gonna be. So
what
did he do?
Yeah, this dumbass is gonna leave star flares, to dry. They got wet, so he leaves them to dry on a metal pan in the sun. Metal gets hot in the sun. Metal got too hot in the sun. The flare, which is mostly, black powder, when it got too hot, ignited and shot flares into what was called a choking room, which is a room where the women were making, munitions, and, boom. So way to go, asshole.
So this was he basically lit a Roman candle and shot it into the fireworks storage room.
Yep.
Well, shit. Okay. So he was found guilty of some sort of negligence or wrongdoing?
No, there's no found guilty here. But out of this outrage, there is a resolution that's made on July 4th, 1864, resolution number 75, which was granted by the U.S. Congress, of none other than the U.S. Congress, deems fit, Johnny, they deem fit, that in addition to the burying costs, that they're going to allocate $2,000 or $33,000 today to be distributed by Major Benton, who's now the commander of the arsenal, to give to the family and victims of the explosion, to disperse as he sees fit. This isn't each, Johnny. This isn't $2,000 to each victim. This is total $2,000 to all the victims.
I was thinking about how $33,000 is a joke of a life insurance policy.
Oh, like joke.
If Ashley, heaven forbid, died and left $33,000 of her life insurance, that's not gonna do shit for me. But that was to be divided among the the dead family, which was 21. So that's, good God, that's
nothing. That's pennies.
It's $1,100, $1,200, some shit.
Now,
good God.
If it makes those women feel better, or maybe not,
it's a stimulus payment, Tommy.
My current employer, the life insurance is about $33,000, and I work in an industry where you
might get shot.
I might get shot. That is a viable possibility. So
you have to carry a gun in case that comes down to it.
It comes down to it. Yes, that's true. That's true. Anyways, after the Civil War, Johnny, more and more skilled labor turns into unskilled labor. The guilds fade away. Those skilled workers now are working in the factory lines, became the question because they're educated to at least a degree, and they go, hey, you know what? I got paid a lot more for making horseshoes when I was doing it by hand.
Yeah.
This kind of sucks.
Yep.
I do have to feed my family,
Of course.
but this does kind of suck. So, can we maybe fix this?
Yeah, so this is sort of like if all of the fine dining restaurants in America close down tomorrow, all of those chefs are like, well, I don't know what to do. I have to get a job. And now they go start working at even like an Applebee's or something like that.
Okay,
you know, and they have to, like, all right, well, all of this is shit ingredients. I'm making shit product, but I have to pay my family, and I'm getting paid nothing for this, so got to do something about it. So those are the people who started this.
Yes. So those are the people who kind of start the whole union thing. In addition to all of that, the slavery ends in the Civil War, but does it?
Of course. Yes, no, that solves slavery and racism.
Because what happens is, mining companies and railroad companies specifically, I'm not just picking on them, but they're the two big proponents of this. And what you're going to hear for most of the rest of this episode is that most of the strikes were over mines or railroads.
No, it's got to be partly because those are two of the shittiest types of jobs.
Well, that is very, very true. Yes, that's very true. Well, they get around this whole slavery thing because they are paying their employees. But what becomes common practice is that towns build up around these industries. Towns build up around a mine company. Towns build up around a steel company.
Yeah, nobody wants
a railroad
wants
company.
To travel hours by foot or horse or whatever.
And
to get a job, they build a house nearby.
You get paid in company money. So that can only you're not getting paid in U.S. dollars. You're getting paid in B&O Railroad money, which can only be used in B&O Railroad stores. In B&O Railroad housing. So the company, while it's not technically slavery because you can leave anytime you want,
of course,
you're not really getting paid because the company's giving you money, which you have to spend at company-owned stores.
Now,
so the
I'm having
company's not really giving you any money.
I'm having trouble drawing the parallel, but that sounds very familiar to some sort of situation that we have going on today, where there's a bunch of people making very low wages, having to stay somewhere, and then only able to spend that at the camp store, basically. Is that prison? Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, that's kind of prison. Yeah, it's kind of prison.
Okay.
That's what we got here. And so this isn't great.
No,
people aren't liking this. So the first major,
they're upset.
It does. But it takes a minute though, because the first major violent act doesn't really occur until 1874, when 10,000 miners say, I don't.
I'm sorry. How many?
I gotta go down. 10,000 miners in Pennsylvania go. I don't.
Okay, and people in a mine, not young children.
Yeah, people. Well,
it wasn't
okay.
but
people in the mine.
But
people in the mine, Johnny. There are
also
children.
young children.
There are
involved.
definitely children.
But you're not saying that a group of 10,000 unwieldy 12-year-olds decided to revolt against the government.
These are people.
Okay.
Yeah, these are people. These are miners. They're going to go on strike. Yeah, they're going to go on strike in Pennsylvania over reduced wages. So what happens? About 22,000 coal miners worked in SCHU.
It said Pennsylvania. Come on.
YLKILL. What the hell, Pennsylvania?
What? It's those Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah. Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania.
All right.
They're like, we don't like this. 5,500 of these, Johnny, are actually children between the ages of 7 and 16.
More than half.
No, not more than half. 5,500 of the 20,000 coal
miners.
Oh,
I thought you said 10,000.
No.
Well, I missed a number. Okay.
Well,
anyway.
You missed. Well,
a fourth.
10,000. Anyways. So 22,000 coal miners total in this county. 22,000 total coal miners in Schuylkill County. 5,500 of which are children.
18.
Between 7 to 16 years old. 7 to 16 years old.
In a coal mine.
Are owning a whopping $1 a week. Up to, if they're lucky, if they're one of the experienced ones, $3 a week.
Which
That's
is
their wages.
15 to 20?
$4 a month, or at most $12 a month.
No, I'm talking about in today's terms. Like, what kind of...
that's nothing. So $2,000 is $33,000. So that's basically 10 times. So think about that 10 times.
$10 to $15
so that's
a
like,
month.
Essentially. If you're making the $3 a week, that's $30 a week. Woo! That's not very much money.
That's not.
Now these are no, that's nothing. Considering that the Civil War soldier private was making $13 a month, unless he was black, he was only making $10 a month because $10 is a lot of money. Watch Glory. Anyways, so they're not happy with this, and then the price of their wages go down, and they're like,
down.
We really don't like this. Yeah, down.
They're like, you know what, guys, we're paying you too much.
Too much.
I want to buy something new, and it's expensive, and so I have to cut those further.
So talks of unionizing began in September 6, 1869, when the Avondale mine in Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, catches fire, killing 110 men. Now, this wouldn't be a problem. Accidents do happen in the workforce, but the problem comes when the mine owners said it costs too much money to build a secondary exit, so those 110 guys burned to death because there's only one exit, and the fire, happened at that exit. So, if there was a secondary exit.
So they were cutting corners on on what would today be the safety regulations, which I imagine did not exist at the time. Now, were you a union? Obviously, there were the guilds. Were they just trying to create a guild, or was a union a thing? No,
guilds. Yeah, no. Guilds fade away, and
right. But where did unions come from? Is it something that had existed
out of
elsewhere?
the guilds? Yeah, out of the guilds. Basically, you get a bunch of workers together that remember what guilds were like. Hey, maybe we should form one of these.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's where they're starting to come. So they're starting to talk about unionizing. And allegedly, Johnny, some of these miners were part of a secret Irish group called the Maguires, which planned and did, in fact, carry out attacks against operators and foremen in the coal mines in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, foremen were, in fact, killed by people. Could have been an angry spouse that just got caught cheating.
Secret.
Could have been the secret.
So this
Irish
is
group.
like okay. So and they're picking off the bad guys.
They're picking off the foreman.
Yeah.
Jesus, they're picking off the foreman.
Wow.
And so the head, the El Presidente of the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad Company, also known as the Reading Railroad.
It's not Reading.
No, it's Reading. Well, maybe it's Reading. I don't know. I'm calling it Reading, Johnny, because butterflies in the sky. I can fly twice.
Because it's but it's spelled.
It's Reading. It's spelled Reading.
Yeah.
So it's Reading Railroad.
Okay.
I don't care if it's Reading Railroad.
No, that's fine. I'm
it's
sure.
Reading Railroad.
All right.
It's butterfly.
I'll give it to you.
Spock. Not Spock. A Star Trek guy with the. What was his name? It doesn't matter. Anyways, that guy, Reading Railroad. If you're a millennial, you know.
Apparently we don't, Tommy.
Well,
neither of us can remember his name.
We're old millennials. I didn't watch a lot of Reading Railroad when I was growing up. Anyways, Rainbow. Damn it! It's not even railroad.
It is.
I've been drinking too much water. Anyways, the Reading Railroad president Franklin B. Gowan is going to hire the Pinkertons.
And this was the kind of mafia basically of the days. It was guns for hire.
Guns for hire. They're going to hire some guns for hire.
PIs, private investigators.
To, suppress the union talk. And by union talk, I mean, obviously, the terrorist cell, the evil Molly Maguires. Specifically, an Irish Pinkerton detective named James McParland is going to be hired, and he's going to testify. And his testimony is going to be used to hang 20 Molly Maguires that just happen to also be members of union leadership. So...
And I assume they found out that they were Molly Maguires and not just union leaders on account of the fact that they did extensive research and didn't just want to get rid of
personal vendettas.
Yeah.
Personal vendettas. Yeah, you might be on that one. Mm-hmm. And not to completely discredit James McParland, who also went on a vendetta killing spree of people who there were.
You can't do that. I get it. It's bad.
Yeah,
you can't.
There were angry workers who did kill foremen.
Yes.
And there were Pinkertons who responded by killing angry workers who may or may not have been involved. Who may or may not have been involved.
And that's the thing. They're definitely not putting the time into investigating the murder enough. And they're just, okay, who needs to be dead? To try to
intimidate people to stop it.
It's the Civil War. You take out the general, right? And so they're going for the generals.
Yep. So these 20 Molly Maguires would be tried
hanged
fairly, and then fairly.
Now, was this back in the day of the juror of their peers?
Yeah, well, yeah, we had.
And they had a juror.
We've always had a
jury.
Peers. Yeah, we've always had a fair legal system, Johnny. Jury of peer.
And they found.
Yep. Sure.
Because every. Okay.
Because Anyways, the Great Railroad Strike of 1877 would be next. By the way, I'm not saying every specific act of violence. I'm just going over some of the big ones.
Oh yeah, no, we don't have time. Like this would be a year-long.
This
podcast
is gonna be a long episode, anyways.
Pick the highlights, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm picking the highlights. This is gonna be a long episode.
This is Sports Center for Union Wars.
Sports Center.
Like
the Great Railroad Strike of 1877 saw more violence. On July 14th, 1877, in Baltimore, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad in Baltimore is going to lower the pay for the second time that year to its employees. Lower the pay.
I can't imagine. I've never been in a job
where they lower the pay.
Yeah, no. I can't imagine that today.
Now, this is before widespread existence of the unions in 1877. They do exist, but this is before the widespread of it. But the workers had enough of the getting their pay, wages lowered.
Yeah, eventually eventually everyone's gonna talk. This is kind of bullshit.
Yeah. So in Martinsburg, West Virginia, they say, yeah, it's kind of bullshit. Not gonna do it. So we're just not gonna work. So figure this shit
started
out.
The strike, and then
it starts the strike.
Now I'm sorry a bit from my ignorance. Striking's a thing that's happened in the past, right? Like that. This wasn't like the first.
Yes. No, this isn't the first, but this becomes common practice. So these strikes.
This is kind of how they figure out we're solving this or getting
by strikes
some kind of results.
So these strikes are going to spread to Maryland, New York, Illinois, Missouri, Pennsylvania, and would last 69 days and include up to 100,000 workers. So this is a big, almost nationwide strike.
That's huge.
These workers are going to be naturally suppressed by state militias and
naturally suppressed. What?
What I mean is the companies who are like,
be.
You're striking, so you're blocking my new workers from coming into work. So I'm going to call them militia.
So they're getting rid of the scabs too.
So they're getting rid of the scabs. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. The picketing scabs, they're getting rid of them because they're hiring the state militias and
guns for hire. Yeah, bunch of a-holes. All right.
Which watch our Pinkerton episodes. They're not always awful, but they are.
It's like they're mercenaries, though. They're mercenaries, and so of course they're not always. It depends on whoever hires them, how moral and righteous is your cause, and that'll determine how moral and righteous the Pinkerton are.
The bloodiest, Johnny, you heard this right. The bloodiest actions are going to occur in Baltimore, Maryland, when the Dandy 5th Regiment. This is a volunteer regiment of soldiers that used to be militia, but are now a part of. They're called the Dandy 5th. They used to be militia during the Civil War time frame, but now with the whole restructuring of thing, they're now part of the National Guard. So the Dandy 5th is brought up. They're going to suppress the civilians that are in the streets, saying, we're not going to fucking do this anymore.
Yeah, so just strikers, the workers, employees who are saying this is unfair, we want more pay.
A military regiment is marching down the street saying, disperse, this is an unlawful assembly, which is kind of a joke in America.
But
it's an unlawful assembly.
No. This isn't in our Constitution or somewhere about a right to lawful assembly, and they're just calling it unlawful because they don't like it.
This is unlawful. They don't like it because
they don't like it, and that's the differentiation.
So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more people in the crowd than there are the Dandy 5th Regiment.
Yeah,
and when you get a large group of people together and they're a little angry, somebody somewhere is going to start throwing shit. Whiskey bottles.
Also, if they're a little happy, it doesn't matter. If you get a large group of people together, someone's throwing something.
Somebody's throwing something. If you're a Raiders fan, you are very familiar with people throwing shit onto the field because we are so proud of our team. Anyways, so they start throwing shit at the soldiers, and at Baltimore Street, the Dandy 5th has had enough, and they start firing volleys into the crowd, killing. Which, by the way, they only killed 10, so. You guys are some shit shots.
What the? Okay. I'm going to take the other side of that. I'm going to say that the majority of the folks saw that as wrong. And like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot over the heads of all these folks.
Yeah, they might have done that. They killed 10, wound 25, and this is gonna lead.
Okay, never mind. They wounded 20. All right, they were all just ass.
This is gonna lead obviously to a riot in Baltimore, which is equivalent to the riots that we saw at the beginning of the Civil War. Watch our Civil War in hindsight. Plug. Because it was all quoted in the newspapers like, we have not seen blood on the streets of Baltimore since
for a decade.
For a decade.
Almost.
two decades. Two decades.
Two decades.
Yeah, come on, give it.
Been 20 years since we've seen death like this.
So the Dandy Fifth has forced to retreat to the Camden Yards, where they are going to watch over the 21st and 22nd of July. They're flipping over bar tables. They're burning
2 days
down.
This went on. This is
2 days.
Just...
2 days. They're burning down train stations. They're destroying trains. They're tearing up train tracks. This is a railroad strike. So they're destroying shit.
Yeah. So I always wonder in things that last like 2 days, like, are there protesters that like are there for like the first 15 hours and then go home, get a quick nap, get a sleep in or something, come back and come
back. They might.
There have to be. They have to do shifts.
They have to.
Right?
They got shifts. Yeah, definitely shifts. President Hayes is actually going to call on the Marines to end the riots, which they do in fact end.
That's
with
the Marines for you. Like they're like, all right, guys, we're done fucking around. Send in the Marines.
Send in the Marines. All right. Anyways, all in all, over 100 civilians are killed in the striking states. 100 civilians get killed in the striking states.
100 people.
We want better pay, better hours,
and not even
not
that.
To die on our job.
Quit paying us less money. It wasn't even like, oh, we've been getting paid this amount. We want more.
Take away, yeah.
Just quit taking our money.
In 1886, Johnny, unions are fighting for the 8-hour workday, which is resulting in labor unions, workers, and strikings and all that fun stuff.
Now, before the 8-hour workday, was there a set workday schedule, or was it just?
No, it was just kind of like whatever the manufacturing wanted. So it could be 16 hours, it could be 12 hours. A lot of it was if the sun's up, you're working.
Yeah, so sun up to
dawn
sundown
dusk
type style.
Yeah, kind of stuff. Which in the winter is fine. That's like 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah, just great in the winter. Although I'm sure they figured out how to light enough candles in those black powder factories to do it in the winter still.
You might be right. So in Chicago, Illinois, there's a bunch of workers who say, hey, can we please have 8 hours? While they're protesting, hey, can we please have 8 hours? Police, kill one of them.
Just one?
Saying, hey, can we please have 8? Just one.
Okay, that's not so bad. Like, that happens every day here in the United States still.
Yeah. So on May 4th, 1880, foreshadowing. In 1886, on May 4th, at the Haymarket Square, a large crowd gathers to peacefully protest the fact that the police killed a striker the day prior. May 3rd, the police.
Okay, so hold on. I'm sorry. Since 1880s,
nothing's changed.
Whatever. We have had people protesting in the streets over the killing of an innocent person by the police. Jesus Christ. Learn history or you're doomed to repeat it. Apparently, we didn't learn shit.
We didn't learn shit. A large well, you didn't learn any of this.
I didn't.
I guarantee it. A large police presence is gathered to dissuade the crowd when someone likely in the crowd is going to throw a bomb at the police.
Likely in the crowd. Where else would they be?
Well,
what do you mean likely in the crowd?
I said likely because it's not like the police aren't going to likely throw a bomb at themselves. Although, to be fair, I've met some police officers who aren't the most competent in the world. They might take a grenade and go, oh, shit.
I've seen some videos online where police have gone ahead and put themselves in situations where they had to result in more violence. So, who knows what happens?
We here at Historic Hindsight, we support the blue.
What?
We support the blue, Johnny. Pink and jeans. Support the blue.
Do we? All right, yeah. Go ahead and defund the police.
We support shit at Historic Hindsight.
I don't care about anything.
We don't have any money to support anything. Anyways, on May 4th, 1886, they're there. They're like, hey, can you just not kill us? And then the police turn around.
Said no, I'm unable to do that.
So somebody throws the bomb at the police. The bomb goes off. It does kill 7 police officers. There are 7 police officers killed, and they respond with taking their pistols and going, "Woo, cowboy time!"
I mean,
they start unloading into the crowd.
To be fair, you can't expect much different.
When
you throw a bomb, they're gonna respond.
And the police should have responded because you can't.
No,
don't
throw
of
course,
bombs at people.
no, yeah, that's. I mean, good God, they had to do what they had to do. Awful situation all around, but don't throw bombs in general and anybody. Police officers and civilians both.
In this incident, 7 police are going to be killed. Only 4 civilians though, which is kind of surprising. But it does.
So the civilians won that.
civilians, 1. A dozen on each side are going to be wounded. 8 anarchists are going to be arrested and charged with building the bomb, although it is admitted by the prosecution that none of them actually threw the bomb.
How many? It takes 8 people to build a bomb?
Yeah, I'm dubious about all this.
Come on. Like, what are you talking about? These are 8 people they wanted arrested, and they're like, oh, yeah, this is what they did.
7 of which are going to be sentenced to death.
What?
One of which is going to be sentenced to 15 years. Only 4 are actually going to be hung because one of them kills themselves. 2 of them are communicated. So, or not communicated. Was it called?
Excommunicated? Pardon?
No,
pardoned by the president.
Yeah. The governor of the state's going to pardon. So moving on, in July 1892, we have the steelworkers who are going to go on strike at the Homestead Steelworks in Homestead, Pennsylvania. This might sound a little bit familiar to you because if you watched our Pinkerton episode, we did cover this. Because this is the most... Yeah, we did, Johnny. You don't remember shit.
Tell me and I'll remember as you tell me.
Johnny smokes things that are legal, fun for memory.
In most of America.
Hey, did you see that the Senate has now is building... it's not the Senate. The House is making legislation to make it federally legal. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
It happened yesterday. Yeah.
Anyway.
Probably. Thank you, conservatives. Apolitical. Anyways, so these Homestead Steelworkers, they're in Homestead, Pennsylvania. We don't like the whole, not paying us thing, or at least not paying us the right wages thing.
Right.
Could you please pay
Living
us
wages
more?
would be nice.
So the steelwork in Homestead, they say, we're going to respond to that by literally building a fort around the factory, including barbed wire, sniper towers, and including water cannons that were able to shoot boiling hot water at anybody that approached.
Because it's a steam or a steel.
But you still need people to work. So they were trying to get the scabs to come in. Scabs, by the way, if you've not. If you're educating the American system, is workers who aren't unionized that come into work to break the strike.
Go ahead and watch The Replacements, and that will explain everything you need to know about scabs.
But when you strike, you surround the building and you prevent the scabs from coming in.
Right. Yeah. You form a picket line.
Usually with peaceful means. For these poor
you
fuckers
lock arms, right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna break.
Who just want to. Who haven't made any money and want to make their nickel an hour. This is not today's standards where everybody's hiring. This is back in the day when nobody was hiring. Yep. Anyways, so these workers just kind of want to come in and make their wages. This fort is erected. Now, it gets hard to allow these scabs to come in, so the steelworks decides to hire the Pinkertons, these guys.
Okay.
These guys.
Yeah.
To come in and ensure that these workers are able to safely get to their job.
The scabs.
So 300 Pinkerton agents are assembled on barges on July 6th, 1892, and attempt to cross the river with the workers at 4 a.m., which promptly results in gunfire at the barges. Now, it is unclear who actually fired first. The Pinkertons claim
come on.
that the workers fired first. The workers fired.
That is like the lamest line in U.S. history.
I do guarantee you that the workers fired first. I guarantee you.
The people who had other people coming at them.
Yeah,
they fired first.
As the Pinkertons attempted to disembark, they received more gunfire before engaging in a gunfight for 10 minutes, resulting in 2 Pinkertons wounded, 2 civilians killed, and 11 wounded. Now, I say civilians because literally, like we discussed earlier, there is a city that builds up around the steelworks that you can only use the steelworks money at. You can only,
right,
all the fun stuff.
Coles cash.
So there are women's, children's with their Coles cash getting fucking shot at by Pinkertons and vice versa. Pinkertons were also shot at. I mean, credit where credit's due.
I mean, that's fine. The thing that always astounds me, I feel like if you have groups of that number with that time and everything these days, like the same number of people, same number of guns, same number of time. A
lot more people will be killed.
Whole lot more. And I never know if it's just these people are like shooting at people is what you do in this time, and I really don't want to kill somebody, so I'm not going to aim real well, or if it's just shit.
I think you'd be surprised. No, I think you'd be surprised, Johnny, because I think if you look at most mass shootings, those numbers fit.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, look at Columbine; those numbers kind of fit.
Yeah. I guess
Not a lot of aiming going on when you're shooting at people.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, when you're just scattering and spraying. I guess if you're not
spraying and praying. So the Pinkertons are going to again attempt to land at 9 a.m., which they're going to come under cannon fire because the workers have found a fucking cannon and rolled that up to the beach and fired a cannon at the workers.
Wind back. We're not talking about the Civil War or
this is
any kind of battle. This is just
1892. We're in
regular life for people. And they are engaging in just shooting at people and getting cannons and firing.
Yeah.
Could you imagine your coworker being like, "Hey, you know what? I got this cannon. Maybe we could shoot it at them as they come in."
Well,
what
Johnny,
the fuck?
You're asking the wrong person because I can definitely see my coworkers like, we got a cannon, let's go at it. Right. Anyways, but that's beside the point. So these Pinkertons again attempt to land at 9 a.m., come under cannon fire. The Pinkertons themselves have made their barges and armored plated with like gun ports, and they're shooting the guns.
They knew what was coming, I guess. Apparently.
So eventually, the way this is all settled, which the Pinkertons can't land at 9 a.m., is that 8,500 National Guardsmen are called in to calm things down. And by calm things down, I mean like 8,500 men are like, we now outnumber you. Stop it. So they stop it. But it.
Y'all both. So this is the principle coming down to break up the second grade fight.
But it takes 4 months, Johnny. 4 months for this shit to calm down. 4 months.
4 months of this.
To be fair, though, ultimately only 8 workers are going to be killed, 36 wounded, with 7 deaths at the steelworker side, so most of those were Pinkertons, with 11 wounded. So not a lot of deaths and not a lot of wounded, considering it was a 4-month siege.
Or, other way of looking at it, a whole lot of deaths, whole lot of wounded, concerning
for
not a war.
No, we're not at war.
This isn't war. This is just people going to work. If 8 of your coworkers died in a month or 2 months or whatever, and murdered.
Murdered it.
You'd say there is a high percentage of murder happening at this job. Like that would. That's it. I don't care.
Probably should stop that. All right, Johnny. In September 1897, once again in Pennsylvania, because apparently in Pennsylvania. All this mines and shit. Yeah. Calm your shit, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Anyways, 300 to 400 coal miners are going to march in support of the UMWA, which is the United Mine Workers of America. Okay. This march is going to spread awareness across Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and it's going to raise union membership from 10,000 to 100,000, partly because of what's about ready to happen.
Probably because so this hadn't happened before. This is what spurred the popularity.
So the UMWA is not the strongest union in the world, but it's going to rise to be one of the strongest unions in the world, if not the strongest union in the United States at this time. And while this is going on in their very, very short existence, like 5 years, things are going to come to a head on September 10th, 1897, when coal miners begin marching and strike at Vladimir, Pennsylvania. Okay. The local sheriff, James F. Martin, is going to be called in and ordered the crowd to disperse. He's going to call in and say, hey, look, you can't just stop striking.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Disperse. So this is basically just a history of how our right to protest is bullshit.
Non-existence.
Over the course of America.
So James F. Martin gets called in and says, hey, look, you got to disperse. They do not disperse, at which point he opens fire into the crowd, killing 19 miners, which is going to become known as the Vladimir Massacre. This massacre itself is going to just spur outrage across the United States. As it should, you can't do that. Can't do that.
I don't mean to bring it in, but this was the George Floyd of modern day.
Yeah, this is George Floyd modern day. The UMWA is you really can't do that, and the mine owners get massive membership. They are basically at this point after this massacre the largest.
Because they were just told that their bodies and they don't matter. It's just okay. Do your work and shut up, or we will kill you.
Yeah, basically. Out of all of this outrage, the owners of the mine surprisingly go, "Yeah, that was uncalled for."
I mean, they called the pot. Oh, got a little out of hand. We just wanted to disperse. Didn't want everybody to die.
So they do agree to meet with union leadership in Chicago, Illinois, in late 1897. In January 1898, there is an agreement made that we're going to increase wages for the miners across the boards at 18%. 18%, that's not bad. I mean, imagine today you get
a good raise.
It's a pretty damn good raise.
Although if you're getting paid 50% what you should, it's not that great.
But not only are you getting an 18% wage increase, you're also getting a decrease in the hours that you're expected to work from 10 down to 8.
And that's what they're fighting for right there, yeah.
That's pretty good. So the last big clash of the 19th century, and again, this isn't all the clash, but the last big clash of the 19th century is going to occur in October 1898 when the Chicago Verdun Coal Company is going to quickly renege on all the agreements that they had with the UMWA and start importing African-American workers to replace the union workers because the African Americans down in Alabama are really willing to work for whatever because, used to be slaves and remember being slaves because 1898 is not that far from 1865. Yeah, there are definitely people still alive that remember that.
All those 15, 25-year-old slaves are now adults looking for work. And
I definitely remember that. And down in Alabama, there's not a whole lot of work for them except for really shitty farming jobs that paid about as well as they did when they were slaves. Anyways, so the UMWA is very unhappy with this idea that these African Americans are going to be brought up to steal their jobs, Johnny.
No, that can't be right. Tommy, you misread your information because the Illinois is in the north. And the North is always pro-African American, not racist, not willing to exploit or put down anybody. Because they were fighting on the right side of the war, right? So they didn't do anything wrong.
Absolutely no racism at all in Chicago that has been democratically occupied for the last umpteen years.
No, Chicago
not
is
at
a
all.
bastion of
of freedom and equality. I can't fucking say it. In any case, this is gonna lead the UMWA to start arming themselves with hunting rifles and shotguns and pistols and pistols.
Oh, bang, bang. Because every other time in the past, this has resulted in people firing guns at somebody.
So imagine you have a lot of guns and you got a lot of angry people with a lot of other angry people that are just trying to work, and things come to a head on October 12th, 1898, when a train full of 100 workers with their family, African Americans with their families,
coming in on trains
from Alabama,
moving
on trains, five train cars specifically, come to Illinois. They're gonna get there, and the UMWA at some point, somebody somewhere starts to fire rounds. There are on the trains, in order to protect the workers on the trains, they do hire a security group. Surprisingly, not the Pinkertons.
Weird! I wonder why they decided against them.
The Pinkerton reputation has gotten
Yelp reviews
little tarnished, so they hire the Thiel detective agents who pull into Minehead Stockade, which is just outside of Verdun, Illinois. It is unclear, like I said, who shot first, but a 20-minute gunfight would ensue between the detectives and miners, with the poor African-American workers and their families having to hide literally under seats at the train and pray that they don't catch an errant bullet.
All right, so this is like your olden days active shooter drill for elementary school students that we do now.
After 20, John, damn it, Johnny, don't get me started. After 20 minutes, the engineer decides, not wanted here, and decides to go to Springfield, Illinois instead. So you have an engineer who's letting this gunfight go on for 20 minutes and decides, all right, probably should pull out of here.
Maybe I should get going. It sounds like this isn't ending anytime soon.
Once they arrive to Illinois, in Springfield, Illinois, the UMWA tries to repair the reputation because they fired on workers, which, they're trying to steal their jobs, but there are unarmed workers with women and children. They try to repair their reputation. They say, hey, look, listen, if you're a worker, we're going to protect you. Come to our union headquarters in Springfield, Illinois. We'll protect you. We'll also provide you free transport back to Alabama.
Why would they need free transport back to Alabama?
Because they're not going to get a job up there, Johnny, these are their jobs, and they're striking, so we're not going to let scabs come.
So they're like, all right, so they're taking care of the scabs. So
and
like,
the
no,
day
your service is not needed here.
So on October 13th, the day after all this gunfire happened, they decided to renege on that promise of safety and said, yeah, at 6 o'clock, you guys are on your own while they're in the Union Hall. Some of these black workers decided to try to run. African-American workers decided to run. Excuse me, I have been drinking. So, historical writing times words come out. So these African-American workers try to run, and they get caught, and a lynch mob, Johnny, a lynch mob ensues to say, we're going to lynch these workers that are trying to just come and do a job because we don't want to do it for the pay that we're getting. And the only reason why they don't get lynched is because the mayor of Springfield comes in and says, probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we're past that. Maybe, hey, do y'all remember... Like 30 years ago, we did that thing.
We did the thing. Yeah,
we did the whole damn thing for like 5 years, and we made this not what you should do.
Yeah, the mayor is going to call in the National Guard to end the mayhem, and when the smoke settles, all things are cleared up. There are going to be 30 wounded, 8 coal miners killed. So 8 coal miners killed, 30 coal miners wounded. 5 detectives are going to be killed. 5 detectives are going to be wounded. There is no recorded African American workers killed, and an undetermined amount wounded. So I guarantee you, a fuck ton of innocent people were killed and wounded, but because they're brown, no
one counted them.
Nobody counted them. And that's the last of it. At least that's the last major issue in the 19th century. Stay tuned in future centuries, where in future episodes we talk about
it gets way better. Everything
the 20th century and the 21st century, because this shit's still going on.
No, it's all solved. We solved it with war, like we do everything.
Solved it with war, like we do everything. Stay tuned for future episodes of Union Wars.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about symbolism.